Hello, and welcome to this webinar on strategies to improve our sleep. The webinar is offered by the Health Promotion Program at Amethyst. My name is Natalie, and I'll be your presenter today. A lot of people will, at some point or another, suffer from trouble sleeping. And it can be really frustrating when you can't get a good night's sleep. Maybe you're suffering from a lack of quality in your sleep. So you're waking up often, you're restless in your sleep. Maybe you're feeling sleepy during the day when you're meant to be alert and active. Or maybe you're just not able to get that 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night that most people need. When you find yourself in this sort of situation, it's good to start by asking yourself about your sleep habits and if there's anything that you can do to improve your sleep hygiene. In this webinar, we'll talk all about sleep hygiene, what it is, and how you can apply it in your life. We're going to share with you 12 easy and practical tips that you can apply to improve your sleep. So let's start at the beginning. What is sleep hygiene? In fact, it's a variety of practices and habits that have been identified by researchers to help anyone maximize the time they spend sleeping. And this is true even if you've been infected by insomnia, jet lag, or do shift work. In general, sleep hygiene refers to practicing behaviors that promote sleep and stopping behaviors that are bad for sleep. We're going to present to you 12 simple tips to improve your sleep hygiene, and so the quality of the sleep that you're getting. Chances are not all 12 will apply to you, but you should be able to find 2, 3, maybe even 4 things that you can try in order to get a better night's sleep. The first tip is to keep your internal clock set with a consistent sleep schedule. So our internal clock is our body's natural rhythm of when to be awake and when to be asleep. And if it gets dysregulated, it can be harder to sleep when you're meant to. Having a regular sleep schedule helps ensure better quality and consistent sleep because you're going to bed and waking up at the same time every day. That sets your body's internal clock to expect to sleep at a certain time, night after night, but also to wake up at a certain time, morning after morning. Try to stick as closely as possible to your routine, even on weekends, to avoid what they call the Monday morning sleep hangover. All you need to do is start by waking up at the same time each day. By doing that, you're going to be able to set your internal clock. Now, don't worry too much if you can't get to sleep the night before or you go to sleep a little bit later. Try to still wake up at that same time. The extra sleep drive that you'll have by being a little bit more tired will help you consolidate your sleep the following night. If you stick to waking up the same time every day, you'll soon find that the time that you feel tired and are ready to go to bed starts to regulate itself as well. The next tip is to establish a soothing pre-sleep routine. It's hard for us to go from high energy and active mode of being to releasing into sleep. We can ease the transition from waking to sleeping with a period of relaxing activities for about an hour before bedtime. This gives our body a chance to start to slow down and relax, and will improve our chances of falling asleep. You can do things like light reading, meditation, taking a bath, watching TV, or practicing relaxation exercises. What you want to avoid is anything that would be too stimulating or stressful, because that will cause your body to secrete stress hormones and keep you alert. So don't do things like work or homework. It's not the time to start discussing deep emotional issues. And careful not to read or watch anything that'd be too stressful. If you find that you're having trouble letting go, one practice you might want to try is to write down the problems that you're facing and then be able to put them aside. So you take a few moments, you write all the things that are on your mind, and you literally and physically put the paper aside and are able to let go a little bit more into sleep. The next tip is to turn your bedroom into a sleep-inducing environment. You want to create an environment that's quiet, dark, and cool. So for quiet is trying to lower the volume of outside noises. Maybe you'll use earplugs. Maybe you need a white noise machine. Maybe there's a way for you in other ways to dampen the noise in the room. To make things a little bit darker, you can use heavy curtains and blackout shades, especially if you're doing shift work and have to sleep during the day. You can even try an eye mask to block out the light. Next, you're going to want to keep the room well ventilated and the temperature comfortably cool, somewhere between 15 and 23 degrees Celsius. Some people are going to find 23 degrees Celsius really warm, so it really is based on your preference. But the idea is to keep it a little bit cooler than you would during the day, just to allow your body to have a more restful night of sleep. Next is that you're going to want to make sure that you have a comfortable mattress and pillows. And it seems self-evident, but it really is important. A mattress that supports you, a pillow that works with if you're a side sleeper or a back sleeper or a stomach sleeper. If you're kept comfortable, it's easier to then have a restful night's sleep. You might want to consider keeping your pet out of the bedroom if the pet regularly wakes you up during the night. And I know that pets can bring a lot of comfort, and maybe for you it is important to keep them in the bedroom. But if you find they're waking you up a lot, maybe just test it out for a couple nights to see if you sleep better if they're in another room, and then take it from there. Another important point to turning your bedroom into a sleep-inducing environment is to limit your bedroom activities to sleep and sex only. The bedroom isn't where you're going to go to play computer games or have a conversation on the phone or watch TV or do work. You really want to have that mental association between the space, the physical space of your room, and sleep. That way, as soon as you're entering it at night, already your body's starting to go into that mode of, oh, okay, this is where I like go into sleep. The next tip is to go to sleep when you're truly tired. If you go to bed and after 20 minutes you're still awake, unable to sleep, it's a good idea to get out of bed, go to another room, and do something relaxing, right? Some of the similar activities as in your winding down period right before bed. Maybe you're gonna do a bit of reading, listen to some music, do some meditation. And as you're doing this activity, once you start to feel tired again and your eyes start to close and all that, head back into the room and try again. If you stay in bed, you're just going to grow frustrated that you can't fall asleep. You're going to put all this pressure on yourself, and it's actually going to work to your disadvantage. So it's better to step out for a few moments and come back. The next tip is to use light to your advantage. So think about your circadian rhythm, right? That internal clock that you've got. Part of what helps you regulate it is natural light. When there's a light outside, we have more of a tendency to be alert and awake. And when it gets dark, we get a little bit more sleepy. It's part of why some of us sleep or go to bed a little bit earlier during the winter and darker months. So if you let light in first thing in the morning, you'll help your body do that transition to waking, right? You're going to activate your circadian rhythm. And maybe one of the first activities you do is even go outside and take a little sun walk to really be able to get into the day. Okay? This tip is particularly useful if you have issues with waking up. If you're doing shift work, you might not be able to use light to your advantage like this. Maybe you have to get up late in the evening to go to work. Like I said, not all 12 tips will apply for everyone, but you pick and choose the ones that work best for you. The next one is don't be a nighttime clock watcher. And for years, I was guilty of this one. I would wake up in the night, look at the time, see that it was going forward, worry about having to get up, look at the time again, fall asleep for a short period of time, look at the clock, and it just wasn't restful. One thing you can try is just to turn your clock's face away from you, right? So you'll still have the alarm to help you get up in the morning, but you're not staring at the time all night. If you're staring at the clock when you're trying to fall asleep or when you're just waking up in your REM sleep, it'll just increase the stress and make it more difficult to sleep. So just cover it somehow. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you're unable to get back to sleep, not only should you not stare at a clock, but you might want to consider keeping the same bed setting, but maybe having some dim lights so that you can engage in quiet, restful activities. Again, reading, listening to music, meditation. And then when you start to feel sleepy again, you can try again to sleep. The point is not to fight against it, but to really let sleep happen, right? We don't really like fall asleep. We let go into sleep. Next is a tip around napping. It's better to nap early in the day or not at all. A lot of people will take a nap during the day and it won't have any negative impact on their sleep. It can be really great practice, in fact. But if you're into afternoon napping or later in the evening, it can cause a problem because you're not going to have the same sleep drive, right? You've already rested a little bit. So if you're going to nap, it's better to keep it short and before 5 p.m. That way you minimize the risks that it could potentially impact your sleep later on. The next tip is to lighten up on evening meals. Finishing eating dinner several hours before bedtime allows you to start the digestion process so that it's not keeping you up at night, right? We don't really digest all that well when we're lying down and trying to fall asleep. Something else to consider is to avoid foods that cause indigestion, especially because you're about to be horizontal, and that can increase things like acid reflux. Now, if you get hungry at night, it doesn't mean that you need to skip out. You can have a snack. Just focus on foods that won't disrupt your sleep, like dairy foods or carbohydrates. The next tip is related to the last, and it's about balancing fluid intake. And this one can be hard to master at first because you need to drink a little bit, but not too much. You don't want to drink so much that you have to get up in the night to go to the washroom. Although some people will get up every night when they go to the washroom, especially as they get older, and that's perfectly normal. But if you can, avoid large amounts of liquids later in the evening, just so that you can stay asleep longer. On the flip side, you don't want to wake up thirsty in the night or with a dry cough, for example. So you do want to make sure that you're somewhat hydrated. The balance will be different for each individual, and you'll be able to figure it out for yourself. A trick that I sometimes do as well is I keep a glass of water by my bed. So if I do wake up hungry, or thirsty rather, I can quickly grab a little sip of water and go back to sleep. The next tip has to do with exercise, and more precisely, the timing of your exercise. In general, it's better to exercise earlier in the day. Now, exercise can be a great part of promoting restful sleep because it tires out the body, it works out stress and anxiety. It can be really great benefits for sleep and beyond. But if you exercise too closely to your bedtime, you're going to have all the cortisol and hormones that are built up during exercise still in your body, and you're going to be a lot more alert, and it'll be harder for you to fall asleep. So try to finish exercising at least 3 hours before bed, or even earlier in the day. And then that way you'll come down from that activity before you go to bed. The next tip is to avoid certain substances that will impact your sleep. Caffeine, alcohol, and nicotine are 3 prime examples. Caffeinated products decrease the quality of sleep that you're going to have. It is meant to keep you alert. and it can have an effect quite a while after it's been ingested. So it's a stimulant. You want to avoid caffeine from coffee, tea, chocolate, cola, even some pain relievers for at least 4 to 6 hours before bedtime. And this can be a little individual as well. I know that for me, I have to avoid caffeine 8 hours before bed in order to get a good night's sleep. Alcohol can also have an impact on sleep. So it's not a stimulant like caffeine is. In fact, it's at first it acts a bit like a depressant, so it will help you fall asleep. The problem is that it then later on, as it metabolizes in your system, starts to act like a stimulant and will wake you up. So if you drink a lot of alcohol, you might notice that you'll fall asleep quite well, but you'll keep waking up in the night and that you'll be restless. For this reason, it's best to limit alcohol consumption, 1 or 2 drinks a day, and avoid drinking within 3 hours of bedtime. Last is tobacco. So smokers should refrain from using tobacco products too close to bedtime for similar reasons as caffeine and alcohol, in that they're a stimulant and they're going to impact the quality of the sleep that you get. So there you have it, 12 tips to improve your sleep hygiene and get a better night's sleep. I just want to say in closing that some of them are easier to apply than others. Some of them are more pertinent to you than others. And so it's really about a try and experimentation to see what will work best for you. Generally speaking, however, you're going to want to stick through it. It can take a little bit of time before these tips really start to have effect. For example, if you're waking up at the same time every morning, don't expect that by the third morning you have this regulated sleep. It's going to take a little bit of time. So stick with it, follow through, keep to the routine, and in no time at all, you'll be having a better night's sleep. Now, if you're trying these different tips and strategies and still you are unable to get a good night's sleep, it might be a good idea to go see your physician, your primary care provider, or a sleep specialist, because there could be something else going on. We have these other resources that you can consult on your own time for more tips and tricks on getting a good night's sleep. The links are under this video in the comments section. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch our webinar today on strategies to improve our sleep, offered by the Health Promotion Program at Amethyst. We hope it helps you get a better night's sleep. We also want to thank the funder, Ontario Trillium Foundation, for making these webinars possible. Sweet dreams.